All right, being 7 o'clock, I call the Lisle Library District Board meeting for September 16th, 2020 to order. Before we do roll call, I'll read the announcement. The Lisle Library District recognizes Governor Pritzker's Executive Order number 2020-07 and the Government Emergency Administration Act number 100-06-40, which suspends certain requirements of the Open Meetings Act, allowing library trustees to participate remotely. All motions will require a roll call vote. So we have roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Thomas Duffy.
Here.
Thomas Hummel.
Here.
Karen Larson.
Here.
Jenny Horton.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Emily Swissack.
Here.
All right. Next item on the agenda is opportunity for visitors to speak. We have a visitor to speak.
President Hummel, thank you for the opportunity to address the board this evening. I've watched the past board meetings on YouTube regarding the possible renovations to this facility with great interest. I'm impressed with the diligent care that you and your colleagues and Mr. Rogers are taking with this process. But the one phrase that kept coming to mind.
I can't hear.
Yeah, can we have him talk louder, please?
I'm sorry.
Is that microphone then?
I don't know.
It's connected to, okay. Yeah, so if you could just try to talk.
Oh, sure.
louder.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Check 1, 2. Can you hear me?
If you want to move to the. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you could step
Yeah, that's
forward.
the
This
mic.
is this center mic is actually the best mic. Yes, thank you.
All right. I'll start. President Hummel,
Yeah.
thank you again for this opportunity to address the board this evening. I've watched the past board meetings regarding the possible renovations to this facility with great interest. I'm impressed by the diligent care that you and your colleagues and Mr. Rogers are taking with this process. But the one phrase that kept coming to mind over and over again is trying to put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. You've already commissioned multiple space studies over the years that have told you that you don't have enough space to meet the needs of library users or staff. And the proposed expansion wouldn't meet those studies' estimates of needed space either. And if you were to commission similar studies again in the age of COVID, do you think the space needs would be less? So I was really sorry to see this group of smart, dedicated people spend so much time trying to figure out how to meet this library's needs by shifting space from one area to give to the other, robbing Peter to pay Paul, then robbing Paul to pay Peter over and over again. You know, for example, solving staff space by sending staff space issues by sending staff home to work, or saving space on the main floor by shifting staff space upstairs when it's been mentioned, I think more than once, that to efficiently process delivery, staff should be by the dock. As a side note, I was particularly glad to hear Trustee Sullivan's concerns about the staff workplaces last time. While I haven't seen those spaces myself, I do remember hearing stories during the community engagement process of how difficult it is sometimes for staff to find enough space to do essential work, or even just have staff meetings. So I'll reiterate the concerns I had about this project that I expressed here back in December, particularly the value to library patrons that they'll be getting for the money that's being spent. However, that being said, I really did appreciate Trustee W's suggestion to present the cost of this project in the context of the cost of the FQC list of non-optional necessary maintenance on the existing facility. Depending on how those numbers add up, how they compare, transforming the characterization of this project from renovation to maintenance plus might be an effective way to help convince people of the merits of this project. I promise you that I will keep an open mind. I saw on today's agenda that there will be an LLD vacant lot discussion and watched last meeting's brief discussion regarding that too. I would suggest to you that unless you are dead certain that this building is the only building the library will ever need, and that no future board will ever rue the day that that one or the other or both of those lots were sold, that the library should hang on to both of those lots. The library is landlocked in a landlocked town. There's not a lot of open space in Lisle. Not a lot of opportunities for a major cultural institution to build a new facility somewhere else. I think you've discovered through this process the difficulties in doing that. As a result, I think the library will be here at the intersection of Front and Kingston for the foreseeable future. And consequently, these lots are literally priceless to the library. in that once sold, they, and the flexibility that they represent, that they embody for the library, will not become available again for purchase in our lifetimes. The only reason that these slots were available to the library when they were purchased in 2004 and 2013, respectively, was because those two lots were occupied by buildings that had reached the end of their useful life and had little value. That will change once those lots are sold. Someone will build something new on them, and that will be around for decades, and the library will be even more landlocked than it is now. I've mentioned this in these meetings in the past, but the Lombard Library, even after a successful referendum to build a new library, has spent years trying to identify a suitable location in Lombard to actually build the darn thing. The referendum passed in the fall of 2016, and they are not going to break ground until next year, and only because they didn't have land to build it on. They would dearly love to be in the Lisle Library's position in that sense. So think of the future, think of your successors when you think about what to do with these lots. Getting rid of them is not exactly eating your seed corn, but it's awfully close. Thank you again for the opportunity to address the board. I'm truly glad to see all of you healthy and well in these difficult times, and I hope that continues for a long time. Thank you again.
All right, thank you very much. All right, do we get any emails for any comments?
No.
So the next item on the agenda is Scarce presentation. I will turn it over to Director Weinstein for the introductions.
Okay, so this past year, the library partnered with Scarce in a number of environmental and recycling activities and events, and I'm pleased to announce that the Lisle Library District has earned an Earth Day flag for our efforts. And I'm also very pleased to announce that Scarce Executive Director Kay McKean and DuPage County Board Member Elizabeth Chaplin are joining us this evening to discuss the library's achievements and to read the resolution commendation. So before we turn it over to Kay, I just want to show off our, because that was hand delivered to the library. So this is our flag. I hope you all can see a little bit of it.
Yep, that's put it down.
Down?
Good. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then, very grateful that Ms. Chaplin came and delivered our official, let me get that in here, sealed resolution. So thank you very much, Liz. Okay, turning it over to Kay.
Hi, everybody.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
perfect.
This is working? All right. I have to tell you that it was such a pleasure to work with your staff. Getting the green tour of your building to see all the energy efficiency measures you have put into place. Can you imagine if every facility could do some of the steps that you guys have done with lighting and the HVAC and your cool roof? You guys, your board, your staff, you have done just a great job for energy conservation. I hope you are so proud. You should be. I'm very proud and happy for the residents of Lisle and for the planet that energy conservation is such a key to helping to take care of the planet for today and for the future. When I came to do your staff meeting, you guys, your staff is such a team. They had great questions. They were very, very genuinely concerned about the steps that they could take, the additional steps they could take. Very proud of things like you guys are doing, like the syringe collection bins in your bathrooms. So important for staff as well as your residents. 1 in 12 homes now has syringes. So by offering that in your library, you're really being a role model for other facilities to do things like that. And it's such a safety net because those syringes are very dangerous for the haulers, and sometimes people put syringes in the recycling bin. So you guys taking those steps, it's really a testament to looking at everything that you guys do and not just thinking of just one level. And then when Beth was telling us that you're getting your water bottle refilling station, I was like, woohoo! Because that really, it's the 3 R's, it's reduce, reuse, recycle. And so by reducing the number of bottles people buy, bottled water isn't very clean, actually, so that's a really better way to get the water the way that you all have it now. Reducing the amount of energy that you're using, your comprehensive recycling program, hosting for at least half of a month the Where is Away exhibit, and I hope we can do that again. Hopefully COVID won't be here for 3 more years or anything like that, but you guys, that LED lighting and your HVAC, those were considerable decisions that you made, and it's just spectacular. And I love your library. It's very cute, and I had a great time with your staff. And then I came to do the residents, and they were equally full of questions, and several of them continue to ask questions. So I just hope that you all are very proud of your staff, and I hope that you guys understand. So Scarce is funded by DuPage County, and Liz Chaplin is the chairman of the DuPage County Environmental Committee. So the funding for this program comes through her committee, and she has been a longtime champion for the environment in many ways. And so she has the county proclamation. And Liz, I'll turn it over to you, and then I'll wrap up.
Great, thank you so much. As Kay mentioned, I'm the chaplain, and I represent Lisle. And we have Lisle. I'm for District 2 in DuPage County. Very happy to be here tonight to present the proclamation. This is a huge accomplishment. I don't know if the trustees realize how much work and effort went into this, getting this certification and earning the Earth flag. It really is a great accomplishment, and you should be very proud of all the work that the library staff has put into this. So I'm going to read some of the, I just want to read off
Wait a minute.
some
Sure, I have
of
it.
the accomplishments. I know somewhere. This really is important to DuPage County, like Kay mentioned, but I have a whole list here. And mentioned we do fund Scarce, and we feel that
The suspense is killing me.
Technology, Liz. Liz, we can't hear you, just so you know.
There, you're frozen.
Yeah. Give it a minute.
We have a handy just in case you.
I do have it. Well, I can read the proclamation unless we get Liz back in.
syringe collection bins
Oh,
in
okay.
their they have your bathroom for staff and for the public. The library donates books, and you can't use books. Handles hazardous use recyclable bag available for library has low flow outlets and faucets with automatic sensors. It's really huge accomplishment. So with that, I'm going to find a resolution here. So I'm going to read our resolution. Whereas DuPage County adopted the DuPage County Solid Waste Management Plan, which includes environmental education activities and leadership in recycling. And whereas the district has completed staff training and has educated patrons and employees on multiple sustainability practices, including proper recycling practices. And whereas the district has an extensive recycling program for electronics, scrap metal, batteries, and many other waste items, and donates books to support people in need throughout the world. And whereas the district has completed several lighting, roofing, and energy efficiency upgrades that support the county's Cool DuPage effort to reduce greenhouse gases and emissions. And whereas the district has reduced waste and water by utilizing reusable products and low flow technologies. Whereas the DuPage County Board recognizes the Lisle Library District for its leadership in reducing their impact on the environment and has thereby earned their Earth flag as a symbol of their accomplishments. And whereas the DuPage County Board finds the Lisle Library District is a valuable member of DuPage County and their efforts have significantly improved the quality of life of the DuPage County community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that, I'm reading this for Daniel J. Cronin, Chairman of the DuPage County Board, and members of the DuPage County Board, do hereby commend the Lisle Library District on their exemplary efforts and outstanding sustainability accomplishments, passed this day, September 16th, 2020 in Wheaton, Illinois. I also wanted to mention, you also installed refillable water stations, which is one of my favorite, one of the best things you can do. So really kudos to everybody. Thank you so much. A wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your work on this issue.
So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about that flag that you've earned from the county and Scarce. It was taken by the crew of Apollo 8 in 1968. It was the first time humans took a picture of the planet, not a satellite taking a picture, but humans took a picture of the planet. It's really a spectacular photo. Amazing accomplishment for our country, and then for all that you all have done. Yep. When you guys fly that flag, we gave you two, one for inside, and some libraries have had them framed with a date with the proclamation that Liz just read, and then one to hang outside, so that your community can see that the efforts that you all are making have been recognized and should be recognized. So Liz and I couldn't be more happy or more proud of the work that you've done. Thank you very, very much. And we really hope we can do some more programs together. I just did a library program outside, and luckily it didn't rain. Wow. So we're all adapting to this, the times that we're in, but I can't wait to work with you all some more. And a special thanks to Tatiana and Beth. So gracious, showing us every little nook and cranny and working hard on every single level. So thank you. I know you guys are proud of your staff, and thank you so much.
Thank you
Well,
so
thank you. You guys do very good work, and hopefully, I agree. Hopefully, we can do more programming. Conservation's a very important issue.
Thank you for joining us.
Does any of the other trustees have anything they want to say?
Just thank you.
Well, thank you so much, you guys.
All right,
Okay.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving along. Next item on the agenda is assignments for reviewing monthly accounts payable. This month, Secretary Swistak and Trustee Sullivan reviewed the August billings in September. Next month, Vice President Bartelli and Trustee Larsons will review the September billings in October. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Trustee Duffy. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, Secretary Swistak seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any changes to the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please, Chris?
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. Before we get into the next item, since county board members, Liz Chaplin was kind of freezing up, I don't know if you want to reach out to her and see, maybe try to get a summary of what she was saying that we couldn't hear. I know we got at least we got the resolution read, but maybe I don't know if you want to reach out to her.
Sure.
Just
I can do that.
put those in the minutes. Now, the next item on the agenda is unfinished business. The first item is facility options, CCS capital project discussion update. Director Weinstein, you want to go first?
I'm actually going to hand it off to Margaret.
Okay, Mark, it's all
CCS.
yours.
All right, so hi again, everybody.
Hello.
Thanks for bringing this today, and we felt it was good to give you an update on a few different things. Today's more of an update than a work session, so hopefully a little bit less wordy than last time. So in brief, with the RFQ process, we did receive 11 firm submittals. We are in the process of reviewing those submittals right now. It looks like there's about, of the 11, around 6 contenders that we're going through a further qualification check right now. I would expect that in the next week to 2 weeks, we provide a recommendation to the board based on staff review and CCS's review of finalist firms that would come and sit before you for an interview. And in that interview, you guys have received via email an agenda, a draft agenda and draft documents for that process. Wanted to make sure that you are all aware of that email. If you had any insights or comments or questions, if you could please email the director with anything you need answered ahead of that, that'd be great. But the next step really is for us to give staff at CCS to give you a recommendation of finalists. Typically, I'll just get in front of it. We do want to try to keep that to one board meeting, a special meeting. Last time we talked about that meeting being the week of October 12th. That's the Monday. We know the 12th and the 13th people have conflicts. So we're looking at, I believe, the 14th potentially for that meeting. Obviously, that can be handled outside of this in terms of setting that date. But just to give everyone a heads up, we'd like, if at all possible, it would be great to keep it to one meeting. But that also has a little bit of an impact on time. So for instance, if staff looks at all of the qualifications and there are 3, maybe front runners, 3 is a good number that you can do in a special board meeting. It's going to be a long meeting because you want to give each firm at least an hour to present and talk to you, probably a half hour in between, and then the next one. So that meeting could be 4.5 hours long at the end of the day. Any longer than that, things start to trail out. So I think the game plan right now is we'll see how things go in our qualifications checks, but maybe we whittle it down to 3 front runners if that's the right number that staff feels. And then we can go up to you. And what we would do is we provide the board the qualifications for those finalists. We provide obviously the agenda finalized, and we provide the reference information that you would need to go out and do the reference checks. That would be going to the libraries and basically trying to look around the building and see what you can see to come back. And what we'd ask is that form that we provided to everybody, unless there's tweaks that we want on it, but basically if you could fill that out if you do go to those libraries and email that back to the director, so that way there can be a record of what was said, and that actually can be shared to other board members who might not be able to make it to library X or library Y. Any questions on that process right now?
I guess, well, the only thing I was going to ask, so I know we're going to try to set a date. We're not going to do that right now, or are we, Tatiana?
Well, we had floated the 14th because it's a Wednesday, and I think when we floated that week of the 12th, we did get some confirmations of conflict. So,
Okay.
I mean, we can float the date to the 14th now.
Well, we could do that too. The other thing, regardless of the date, since it's going to be such a long meeting, and I guess it also depends what time the architects can make it too. Because I'm going to say, what's the earliest? Again, we'll have to confirm that the architects can make it too. Probably the earliest that board could want to start. I would like, if it's possible, to start at 6. If we could do it earlier, that's okay too. That I know it could get a little tough if it's that time. So when we plan on a meeting date, I'd probably try to start this a little earlier than 7.
We've done that in the past, exactly what you're saying, starting a little bit earlier to allow that time. Still, the last firm isn't coming in at 11 o'clock and everyone's wanting to go to sleep.
Is that doable for everyone?
So do we want to at least shoot for the October 14th first and go with that route? Is everybody available on Wednesday? Is it a Wednesday, right? Wednesday, October 14th?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll pencil that in.
Okay.
Make
And then,
sure that whoever can make it.
Why don't you ask if anybody is not available?
well, so it sounds like we're good. And then is everybody okay with starting it at 6 o'clock? Or can somebody, we'll do it that way. Is anybody not available at 6 o'clock? Karen, I can't see you. I just asked, are you okay? Can you make it?
Clock is fine.
She said.
She said yes.
Okay. So 6 o'clock works for everybody?
Yes.
And so everyone is prepared for that time frame. What we would do is we'd obviously have one interview at a time. We'd have about a half-hour break in between the interviews. And then afterwards, we'd stay back and review all the interviews with the board. The board would score the firms at that same meeting. And then at that point, we'd ask the board to confirm their agreement with the board's top-ranked firm. At that point, by statute, we go and ask that top-ranked firm for a RFP, and then they send that back, and we start contract negotiations with that firm. Yep. Hopefully, everyone can hear me.
Yeah.
Any questions there? Or any move on?
The only other quick question, with these presentations, is there gonna be a lot of stuff like that they're gonna be showing on the board?
Yes, there would be.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Is that, okay, so let me ask the board that's obviously remote, when we put stuff up on the screen before, is that easy to read?
They can't see.
Or they can't see?
No,
There's
what they would do is share screen.
Okay, was that good enough for you guys?
No, we haven't done that yet. With the architects, if they show something, they will share their screen.
I understand, but Mark has done it. Yes,
We have had a screen shared with us before in a meeting, and it worked, yeah.
Did it work? Okay.
Mhm.
Because I don't know, is there a way to get some of their stuff like slides to the trustees, or is that kind of usually confidential? That they don't want floating out there?
It depends. I don't know that they're going to want it in a board packet,
Okay.
the first part, but we could ask for them to send it electronically.
Yeah.
So if something electronic fails, the board has it.
If it's possible, just so, but if it's not, then it's not. Any other questions for Mark so far?
Mark, what kind of, if we're starting at 6, what kind of time should we allot for that evening?
After we finish the qualification check process, we'll have a better sense of how many firms, but say it's 3. Usually, we've seen 2 before, we've seen 3, that are standing out. 3 is maybe a good number to kind of talk about right now. If we start at 6, I'd expect 6 to 7 for the first, and then a half-hour break, then 7:30 to 8:30 for the second, and then 9 to 10 for the last. And I would plan on in board discussion, probably at least a half hour to 45 minutes after that. So that meeting might be ending around 11 p.m.
That was a 30-minute break just to give us.
It's enough to get them out.
Okay.
And we could maybe tighten that up a little bit. I think it's electronic now.
Yeah. Try it.
Because in the past, it's all been physical when you have, everyone in a room.
And will they be here physically? Or are they going to try to do it?
It's a question for you.
I would probably be best to have them here, would you say?
I agree.
Yeah. I would rather have.
It's such an important.
Yes. Yeah. The architect.
Yeah. So.
Mark?
Yes.
I have a question. Were the firms that are submitting, are they local firms? I mean, like from the Chicago area, Illinois, or are they from like different parts of the country?
There were a range. Majority of firms were local in terms of Chicago region, I'd say. But there was a national presence as well.
Okay.
Mark, I do have 2 questions for you. This is Trustee Duffy. One, not related to the slides, but could we have like a 1-pager maybe from each of the finalists that just sort of outlines or highlights their basic information from them? So let's say at the very worst, right, like we have issues with the tech on the day of, we have some information on who they are. And then since it's going to be a 4.5-hour long meeting, can you deliver all of us coffee during that? I'm asking for the entire board, I believe.
Yes, we give everyone the qualification packages. So that'll be the first. Since they're going to be putting together a presentation to you, we could ask that as part of the presentation, they provide a 1-page, and we explicitly asked for a 1-page summary of their firm submittal. But really, that would be more of a supplement to their presentation. Maybe that's how we'll phrase it. so you have something, but you will have the qualifications and then we'll work to, like, as Humble said, we'll work to get
Okay.
that electronically as well. And then for the coffee, is it Starbucks, Dunkin'?
You can surprise me. It's no big deal at that point.
I'll note that. Artisan, yeah. Okay.
Was there any other questions so far for Mark?
Okay, so next one, point B, and I did download your packet this time, so it's your packet, page 48 that I'm on, but point B, and I'm going to skip to my page 2 and 3. So that'd be your page 49 and 50. What I did on the first page, I highlighted on purpose previous project definition studies. This is the revised comparison that was requested from last meeting. I won't dwell on this too much, but basically we added and I highlighted the one cell with the FQC facility condition assessment report recommendations being included in there on both accounts, so that everyone can see that. But really we're providing this to memorialize what was done last December. And we'll turn it to the next page, which is more important for you, which would be your page 50, summary of current project parameters.
Mark, the page is it's actually 52 for us. So I think what you printed is
Oh, really?
even off anyway. Yeah.
I downloaded it from the, all right.
So it's your page 3, right? So
Yes.
your page 3. Okay. So we have on the bottom your page 3 and our page 52.
Okay.
It's because they were in the session minutes.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was,
Thanks.
thanks, that was, okay, good.
Yeah. Well, especially as I ask this next question, because I do want you guys looking at the right page on this one. The question to all of the board, and I don't know if you want to go person by person, but would be, does this one-page summary encapsulate your discussion in the last board meeting? Are there any suggestions or comments that need to be incorporated? Because what we will do with this one page, since this is the current parameters, we would give this to the finalist architects before they interview with you, so that they can have an idea of what you're looking at as a starting point. This isn't saying this is the project, this is a starting point for them to come to your interview and talk about your project in your building. We don't want them to come to the interview and just talk about what they've done in other libraries. We want them to talk about what their ideas are for you.
Well, the one thing, I know you have other considerations about the unimproved lots. I would prefer to just try to keep it on this property. I mean, if it has to go to the little bit of the Kingston property, I could live with that. Probably the Front Street one I would like to leave alone, would be my preference. I mean, well, the board hasn't really talked about it in detail yet, but
Well, it was mentioned.
well, it was mentioned, but I guess I just rather, I mean, maybe, I don't know if you want to take it out, but I wouldn't say take it out, but maybe make an additional note, at least in my opinion. I don't know what the rest of the board feels as far as trying to keep it on this property, or
Well, I think the whole board should discuss.
well, I said it's just my opinion. I don't know what the rest of the board is. So, anything else in general from any of the other board members on this sheet? We'll go with Trustee Sullivan this evening.
One thing that Jenny had brought up at the last meeting was potentially looking at a option A, B, and C. And I didn't know if we had decided to do that, or and I know that this was the 8.5 to $9 million page, but I guess I just didn't know if we decided to do that or not.
Sure. So how I addressed that, I'm doing the math in my head. I believe it's your page 50. And our next topic that I'll talk to is planning for concept design phase. I did put in that as determine project scope, review good, better, best options, or ABC. We can determine how to phrase that as part of it. I can add a note like that to the page 52. If you believe that.
Mark, I did see on page 52, so your page 3, under the third, like bolded bullet point where it says alternates to be considered, there is a bullet point below that says good, better, best options.
There you go. Yep. So yes, fourth right there. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It was there somewhere.
I guess, is there a way to tie what Emily just said to point number 3? Because the way I read point number 3, maybe I'm reading it and I'm being a little dense here, but when I see that the baseline project cost is to be in the range of 8.5 to 9, alternatives are to be developed and will be evaluated in order to obtain best value for this capital project. It doesn't stick out to me that we're looking for an 8 ABC that and that our price range or our cost range might go greater than 9 with the ABC format. I'm not saying that we'll spend that. I'm saying, you know, do we want to see options and do we want to, you know, if you spend more, you probably would get more. And to me, this says don't spend any more than 8.5 to 9 million. And I'm okay with that if that's what the board decides to do.
So the way we phrased it is to try to set a baseline that as a starting point. I know we heard some comments that, you know, we don't want to give designers carte blanche to go and spend the upper limit. We wanted to set a lower baseline and then use the good, better, best to see what you could get if you spent a little bit more and if it was of value to the library to do that. I could look at that phrasing on that one line to see if it's way to tie it in. In architect speak, if you tell them baseline or, you know, the base project scope is X dollars, we want to hold them to that X dollars for at least to come up with the initial concept. And then what they do is when they see alternates to be considered, those are add alternates that they'll look at. Maybe that's the phrase that make it an add alternate that would go on top of base to build up to that range that Trustee Sullivan was just speaking of. Maybe that's a simple way to do it, is we just literally add the word add in front of alternates.
I think that makes sense.
You know this environment better than I do, so you need to use your best judgment.
Will do, but I hear you loud and clear about wanting the ability to scale up and consider that value, especially at the concept phase.
I mean, we might end up scaling down. Who knows?
Trustee Nord, is it a good time or should I go to somebody else first?
No, I have no further comment. I was just going to quip that we want Mark's good, better, and best judgment.
Secretary Swiss-Staff.
I'm good now. I appreciate what Trustee Sullivan was asking about and what Mark has suggested, adding in the word add, and I appreciate that. So I think for me it looks good.
Trustee Duffy.
The project cost language is fine with me. I agree with you, President Hummel, on so I know at our last meeting, I was one that mentioned one of the ones that mentioned using one of the spaces as a potential joint effort with the park district in some way. I almost view that as a separate project and effort than this, because I don't think we've talked to the park district yet. And I would rather prefer not to give the appearance that is something we want to do right now versus until we had a more concrete idea from the park district if that was something we even wanted to entertain. I think we all had the same feelings about it would be a nice to have, but on the flip side, it's not a need that we have identified as the top priorities for us.
Thank you. Vice President Bartelli?
I have a couple comments regarding Trustee Duffy's statement. I think we're way ahead of speaking to the Park District. But on our page 52, under other considerations, as far as the unimproved lots, I don't want us to get into a discussion now about whether or not we would improve that or not, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have an architect at least review the lots and give us an idea somewhere down the road in the future, not now for what we're doing right now, but as long as we have their expertise, I personally would like to know if they see any viability in open space, green space. And again, with Trustee Duffy's comments about the Park District, that deserves much further consideration when we get there. I would have to say right now, I would not be in favor with discussions with the Park District at this time. That's my personal opinion. So I think the other considerations point does merit some more conversation. Only in the fact of having this the designer or the architect, Mark. I'm sorry.
One and the same, but you are right.
Okay. Just a quick review, look at the lots. Is there a possibility that we might be able to do that down the road? Of course, it's not included in our renovation at this point. That's it.
May I ask, Mark, they're not going to do that for free. And because you have the wording here that says the selected architect is to review. So I'm fine. I agree with you, Vice President Bartelli, if that is what it is. But if it's the selected architect, that is going to be a additional cost in some manner, whether it's an hour or two or several hours worth of work on a project that we are trying to keep the costs as streamlined as possible.
Mark, I'm sorry, Vice President Bartelli, may I ask at this point what an hourly rate would look like? I can't imagine that, well, I don't know because it's not my expertise, but strictly physically looking at two lots.
So I would not anticipate your architect to approach the concept phase for an hourly fee. I'd expect them to do a lump sum for that phase or that portion of the work. That's typically how architects will approach these things. But I will say that I would think, and I'm looking at Graham a little bit too, but I would think that if they're looking at a concept for your building and maybe looking at where the entrances are or how the traffic is flowing around, to give some thought to how, maybe it's not even the diagrams or anything like that, but it's, okay, yes, this lot versus that lot might be of more long-term value.
Or a part of
Or
that.
a part of something, that might be beneficial to you now. And I would not expect them to see this line and say, okay, I'm going to increase my cost by thousands of dollars. And
if you put it in
But I see my point, and I then agree with Vice President Bartelli.
Yeah. Greg, you were going to say something?
I was just saying that once you select the architect, if you put that in their scope of work, then it'll be part of their price and it won't be such a big sum, I would think. So it just becomes part of their overall scope of work, but it is early. You're at concept stage. You're not going to get a detailed design with all the sites. You're going to get some ideas. And that might be what you're really looking for.
if you ask for that later,
the opportunity.
like Greg said, I don't know if everyone heard that. If you ask for this as a one-off task later on, I would expect that to be a much higher value than as if they were looking at this and spending time on the whole project. I said, much higher value.
So, wait, you're saying?
No, I would leave it in for this phase as, and I'm trying to make sure the wording is correct to reflect what you're saying is, I think President Lee said it right in the beginning is, is there, your inclination is one lot may be of more long-term value to the library than another. Is the architect's opinion, based on what they're planning for your renovation, is that in parallel? So in other words, they're not really designing the whole lot, but they're trying to say, okay, is there some value to one versus the other?
We could use the word may, so the selected architect may review if one of the lots can be utilized. It's not maybe is to review, but may review, because I think it's important to allow for options since we have land, but it'd be interesting to see if one of the selected architects has a vision there. And obviously the board can decide whether or not that vision meets your vision. But if they have a vision that maybe it uses a piece or a corner or something, because we do own the land, it'd be interesting to see, to allow for it, but not require them to review it.
I would keep the wording just as it is.
I like it too.
Trustee Larson?
Yeah, I like the wording the way it is currently.
Do you have any other comments or questions for Mark or on the document?
No, I mean, what Mark was saying, I understand, and I understand what Marjorie was saying. It, might be interesting to find out if one lot has more potential than the other lot. I don't know, in terms of like drainage or if there's other issues with it. I don't really know. But that's, something maybe they would be able to explore for us as well.
Keep going, or?
Keep going, yeah.
All right.
So,
And
with
I
that
think
being said,
something at one point, I'm sorry, but once we choose an architect, at some point, we probably should tell them when we have major events, I believe it's 4 times a year, we do overflow our parking into St. John's. Okay, if St. John's ever decides that they're going to use that parking, that option, I mean, they don't charge us for that, is my understanding. They're just being a good neighbor. So if they choose at any time to not allow that, we have to be ready to expand our parking lot. And so, we just need to make the architect, whoever we choose, aware of that. And if we also have a vision for, and it doesn't have to be the park district collaboration, but a vision to turn some sort of property into some sort of outdoor, let's just say, relaxation center with a few benches. If that's kind of a vision that the board shares, we need to make them aware of that too. Because, those two things right there chew up a lot of space, which may preclude us, whatever that word is, from selling either of those two. So we just, let's keep those two in mind, and probably share that with whoever the chosen architect is.
Those events though are usually on Saturday mornings, and is there a written agreement with St. John's, or just kind of, because they use our lots for some stuff too, don't they?
No, I mean, very rarely.
Rare, but.
And we don't have a written agreement because, but because we have our events in our parking lot. That's why we have
Correct.
kind of a parking issue when we have the large. So If we had our events, say on some green space, I don't know if we have a parking.
Yeah, so that's why one lot is the one Kingston specifically, because it's basically proof. That's why that one isn't such a big issue to me, because you could probably utilize it in some capacity, or have to get into bigger discussion with, collaborate with the park district or something. But that's fine. I don't
Yeah, no, I think the amount of conversation that has brought out, that one sentence, it probably behooves you to put it in there and see what comes up. And really, they'll help foster that concept through and allow for your feedback and input. So I think that makes sense. So the only change I have on this document would be to put the word add in front of alternates on the third bullet point under parameters and needs. And then we would use this to give to the finalist architects before they come for your interview, so they see what you're looking at, and we hope that they come with some ideas. That's what the goal is there.
Right.
All right, that was smooth enough. So thank you for all your help.
If they don't, it'll be a very short meeting.
The last thing, I'll go back to my point C, and Graham and I have been doing a little talking about this. This is really, this is going back to your page 50. Yeah, planning for concept design phase, and some of the things that we would look to do. We really pulled some of the requests that the board had made in the last board meeting and put them here to formalize that we heard it, and we'll look at this. So one is talking about the good, better, best options. Two would be the project phasing, cost benefit analysis, and Graham, you've had some experience
I
with
think
that.
I'd go back. I mean, what they're going to be doing in the project scope is developing various options for you to look at on a conceptual basis. And part of that is knowing not only what you like, but what you dislike as well. So you're going to get a variety of options. They're going to go through that to establish what is the preferred option. So, I mean, basically, you're going to get that early on. Financial projections, where we're going to have to go through looking at phasing, whether it's better and easier to phase the construction while the library's open, or maybe you move the library to some other location and let them keep construction going without any phasing here, and get some sort of cost comparison on that particular option. Go through the maintenance plan projections. In other words, look at the products that they're suggesting and thinking of, in particular, the mechanical and the electrical. So, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting phase, and it's going to give you a lot of insight into the capability of the architects and ensure that the one you've selected adequately reflects what it is that you want. I hope it's not the case, and I've never known it to be the case, but if they do not perform to your satisfaction, you have the opportunity to not proceed with them for the next phase. And that's one of the reasons for just letting them do in the concept design phase, making sure that you've made the right choice. Anything else?
No, and I think I also included, it is included in your board packet, but you had asked, the board had asked for a summary to somewhat simplify some of what a general contractor does compared to a construction manager. This is something we would look at during the concept phase more. It may impact how we budget for the project and things of that nature, but you can kind of see, I tried simplifying this in one page. And we can go through this in more detail. I'd expect to do that in the concept phase, but at least this gives you a head start on that for now. So with that being said, at this point, again, heading into concept design phase, no project has been approved. We're not doing anything budget-wise. There's no tax increases being considered or anything like that. So we'll get through concept. We'll see what happens and what can be done within your budget.
Yep.
Anything else for us?
Any other questions for CCS, Mark Rogers, or Graham, any of the trustees?
You're gonna get us a really good price.
We're gonna hopefully that you select the best fit for you. Yes. We lot.
Karen, are you good?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All righty. Okay,
Do
thank
you
you.
want us to stick around for any case? I saw a couple other things.
If you want to stay, we have a B under facility, if you want to listen to that.
We'll stick
that's
around.
fine.
Yeah.
All right, next item on the agenda is 6B, renovation communications discussion. I know this was brought up in the past. I know Vice President Bartelli also requested this agenda item, so I'll turn it over to Director Weinstein.
Well, actually, I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Bartelli to begin the
Okay,
conversation.
go ahead.
Vice President Bartelli did discuss this with me, so I want her to introduce.
You know, I'm not much of a talker, Tatiana, so.
Okay, I'll take it from wherever you want to leave it.
Okay. Well, I had emailed Director Weinstein, and then we also met, throwing out ideas for communication regarding our project. And we discussed several ideas. Of course, no one wants to hear another committee of the whole meeting possibly, but we decided that might be the best way to go. So we have everyone in the same place, same conversation. We had an idea about giving our trustees an assignment for this, and I think I'll let Director Weinstein explain that, if you don't mind.
No problem. So this is all about communicating the renovation ideas, concepts, and our path forward with the renovation. Because I think the board is very aware. There have been a few social media posts and emails with some misconceptions about prior renovations, current plans for renovations, and I think having clear and accurate information is essential in this whole process, so that the public understands that the library improvements that we're planning on will be done without raising taxes. That's it's a key point, and we need to communicate that to the public. Communicate how we're going to accomplish that, why we are doing so, and how this will save taxpayers in the long run. I think that's a necessary task. So I'm not sure if you've seen this, but many libraries who have gone through renovations or are going through renovations have a page on their website that's dedicated to the renovation as a way of communicating how they're doing something in their message. Very recently, St. Charles Public Library, Joliet Library, and Carroll Street Public Library have web pages dedicated to it. And we do have a capital projects page, but that's generally, it's basically all text and some links there. So we can do better once the board has agreed to some parameters and once we have some concepts. We can share those architectural designs with the public and things like that. But even before that stage, I think we can do better and retool the page to provide some more information. We can also lead some social media posts out if the board wishes to do that in terms of communications. But back to what Vice President Bartelli mentioned, she had an idea about asking the board for your 5 top ways of communicating it. Like, what do you think is the most important ways we can push the information and make sure that the public has the right information so they understand what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we asked if we are asking if you could send me your 5 top ways, methods of presenting the information. And it could be in any format, whether you want us to do it social media or if you have ideas about, should we're doing this without taxes be the #1 thing we push out there. But if you could share that with me in the next, I would say, week, that'd be wonderful. And I just wanted to mention a couple of things for the record that, I think our public comment visitor mentioned this, that the maintenance, repairs, and facility improvements will be bundled into this renovation. So I want that out there. The renovation, again, will be done without raising taxes. And I think it's important also to remind our residents that the library has not raised taxes. We kept the tax levy and lowered it for 3 years in a row. And that this improvement concept has been discussed in public meetings over a 6-year span. And it's included the community engagement project, the strategic plan initiative, and then of course, all the facility options meetings we've had, and that all of these meetings have been open to the public. And then lastly, that libraries are a resource for families who cannot afford what some call basics, such as internet access and computer access, and access to a variety of materials and professional instruction, because there are some people out there who think, libraries aren't necessary anymore. I mean, it's a minority of people, but I think it's important to remind people that, especially in emergencies, whether it's a flood or COVID, the public libraries have basically been a life jacket for a lot of our residents. And I talked about this before, back in 2013 when Lisle had its flood, we had residents coming in who had their basements flooded out, their whole home office was gone, and they came to the library to use the computers and to print materials. And we had people coming in, printing out FEMA applications because of all the damage they had. And then now during COVID, we've continued to connect with our home delivery patrons. We started curbside pickup, and we served as like a vital supplement to the e-learning that a lot of students are doing now. And I know I shared with the board a recent email we received from someone who's very grateful for staff helping them and supplementing them. So I think as far as creating an improved library that with the renovations to enhance services, we need to talk about how we're also going to create efficiencies for the library and that it's going to serve the community for years to come. So I just think that it's something important that we need to put out there. And of course, again, accomplish this without a tax increase. So if you're all willing to do what Vice President Bartelli and I are asking, if you could send me 5 ideas for this project to communicate this to our residents, we really appreciate it. Did I leave anything out, Marjorie?
I'd just like to add, Director Weinstein, did you forward the 3 websites of the libraries you mentioned to me, to all of the trustees?
No, just to you, but I am happy to do that.
I think that would be a great idea. I was really impressed with St. Charles especially.
Okay.
And that it's just great information. And also, would you mind sending an email to everyone requesting these 5 items, just so we actually have an email in our inbox asking us to do that rather than saying.
Homework.
And also further down the road, you and I also discussed, after we summarize and put everything together, that we would probably most likely bring in our communications coordinator on this, correct?
Right. Our communications coordinator can create something that looks really much prettier than just having text on a page. Take some photographs and make it look a little nicer, do some social media posts, things like that.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
So I have a question. Surprise, surprise, right? Are you looking for media suggestions or are you looking for content suggestions?
Oh, are you asking? I think any and all of the above. If you have ideas for this, I just think, I know that when Vice President Bartelli and I were discussing it, I mean, we felt that there was a real need to do this, and we're hoping that the rest of the board also feels that need. So if you have ideas about media, if you have ideas about content, please send them.
Okay. So either or, okay.
Or both.
Yep.
Can we do it, Tatiana, as well?
Any other trustees with any questions or comment on this item? All right, Vice President Bartelli.
Can I say something real quick? Sorry. I just want the Secretary Swistak. I just wanted to thank Vice President Bartelli for initiating this conversation with the director and bringing it to the full board's attention so that we can address this, and for getting all of our input. I think it's really beneficial that we all kind of have this united front in explaining this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and all of that. So thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Vice President Bartelli, was that it then?
That's it. Thank you.
Director Rice, was that it?
That's it on my end.
All righty.
That was it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Well, take care, everybody, and we'll see you within a month.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is committee reports. Finance Committee, Treasurer Norton. Is it a good time or I could skip it?
That's, thank you for asking, Tom. It's all right. We do have an update that there is a meeting being scheduled. The date, assuming it works for all, I think we have confirmed is October 6th at 7 p.m.
Correct.
Agenda in progress.
All right. Next item, or next one, 7B, Personnel and Policy, Secretary Swistak.
We do not have a meeting scheduled. After tonight's meeting, then I will be talking with the director and seeing if we can set something up after tonight.
Sounds good. 7C, Physical Plant, Vice President Bartelli.
I think we have enough on our plate. We don't have a committee meeting scheduled.
Yep. Righty. Next item on the agenda is staff reports. Did you want to add anything to your director's report before I open it up to questions and comments?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. This is not in the report, but yesterday, the library partnered with the Lisle Township and DuPage Senior Citizen Council and the Fire District to help distribute meals to seniors at the township. Approximately 30 cars came and drove through the parking lot to pick up meal packets and along with library information, and it was really a wonderful affair. And I know that I understand that the township will also host more of these in the future, but some of the seniors who drove through got information about our curbside pickup as well as our digital offerings. So looking forward to partner with the township again on that. And then speaking of partners, the Lisle Wings Club also got a chance to come in and plant philodendrons in the Nancy Wilson Memorial Vase. So if you're interested in seeing a couple of pretty little green plants to help our air quality in here, that's on display at the reference desk. And then speaking of Personnel Policy Committee, we have a policy update. So last month, the board did pass a number of policies, but there was one that needed more attention and review by the attorney. That was policy 606. And this policy addresses the current COVID-19 pandemic as well as other potential health emergencies as it relates to the overall operations of the library. But our attorney is still reviewing the Families First Coronavirus Response Act as it relates to this particular draft. And we should have a draft for the Personnel Policy Committee sometime by the end of this month. And I anticipate having a meeting sometime in October. So I will talk to Trustee Swistak on that topic. But because there's so much variability to this current pandemic event, the attorney's recommendation is to have an internal operational document along with a general public health response policy. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. And then, of course, we can tweak it as we see fit. And then I have a summary update. So this year went exceptionally well, despite the program being 100% virtual. Our youth numbers were slightly down, yes, but we figured this is mostly due to historically our youth programs have been and kind of an in-person event where there's a lot of in-person interactivity. And we also missed out on a lot of the ability to promote this at the schools because the schools were shut down. But we still did really great with the kids. And actually our adult numbers were up. So that was great. We had a higher completion rate for the adults this year, and we assumed that some adults had a little bit more time to read. So that was good. And then just a quick mention that the annual audit will happen in October. And lastly, we all know that the general election is Tuesday, November 3rd, and it's also a state holiday. And so there is a current lawsuit in Springfield pending, asking for clarification regarding government bodies and which bodies should be closed on this state holiday. And I did ask our attorney about this, and he mentioned that the official ruling should happen on October 15th, and recommended that the board could wait to do that. But our next meeting is on the 21st. So if you wanted to make a decision about that earlier, you can, but we should have a ruling on the 15th. Now, I did have some discussions with other leaders in the community as well as other library directors, and it's about half and half. Half are staying open, half are closing. So that's going to be a board decision, or if the ruling becomes more clear. And then, as you all know, we have some local election news that the local elections are on Tuesday, April 6th, and the library has paper packets available for trustee positions in our foyer, and we also have information on our website on the board page. The first day to circulate petitions is September 22nd. And then for anyone interested, the candidates guide and other relevant election information is available on the DuPage County county website /election. So, all I have.
All right, any questions or comments on the director's report?
No.
No? Okay. Karen, no?
No.
All right, next item is the assistant director's report. Did you have anything else you want to add to yours? Or just
Don't, unless anyone has any questions.
any questions or comments on the assistant director's report?
No.
All right. Moving on, next item is new business. First one was 9A, Library District vacant lot discussion. I'm going to table that one if everybody doesn't mind, because we just had a brief conversation with CCS here, and also in the interest of kind of keeping the meeting running or moving, because we do have still a couple more important items with the B&A and the director evaluation. So if everybody doesn't have a problem, we will probably pull that agenda item until next month. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is 8B, adopt ordinance 20-05, budget and appropriation ordinance. Can I have a motion, please?
This is Vice President Bartelli. I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 20-05, budget and appropriation. A budget and appropriation ordinance of such sums of money as may be deemed necessary to defray all necessary expenses and liabilities of the Lisle Library District for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021.
I have a motion. Can I have a second, please?
This is Jenny Norton, I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Before we open up for discussion, Director Weinstein,
Oh, I just have a brief.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the budget appropriation, or more commonly known as B&A, is an ordinance that Illinois taxing districts must adopt in order to spend the funding the library receives. So the board reviewed and accepted the tentative B&A last month, and this month the board must adopt the B&A by statute. And there are no changes to the document. Both Sikich and the library attorney have reviewed this document and support what is shown. That's it.
All right. Any questions, comments, or discussion from any of the trustees on the B&A? No comments, question, or discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
No.
Emily Slisak,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is 9C, approved certificate of estimated revenue. Can I have a motion, please? Anybody want to make a motion on the approving certificate of estimated revenue?
Vice President Bartelli, I will make a motion to approve the certificate of estimated revenue, chief financial officer's treasurer certificate of estimated revenue by source for the Lisle Library District for fiscal year 2020-21.
All righty, can I have a second, please?
This is Trustee Duffy, I second. And before you continue, President Hummel, I'm going to turn my camera off. I am having internet issues, but I can hear fine on audio. So I just want to make sure I'm still here.
All right, sounds good. Director Weinstein, do you have anything?
So certificate is a statutory requirement as well. The numbers show come directly from the county and or from the budget as adopted by the board. And again, these are simply estimates of expected revenue. And again, Sikich has reviewed and verified the numbers on this document.
All right, any questions or comments on this document?
Yes, I would recommend reducing fines, fees, and photocopies by $35,000 because when the board voted to go fine free, that's $35,000 in our budgeted revenues. We only have 9 months left in the fiscal year. We don't have anything initiated yet to make up that $35,000. We have some plans, but they're not initiated yet. So, this is an official document. I would prefer it be, closer to what we believe we're going to receive. And if it were up to me, I would take that number out. I'd reduce it by 35,000.
Yeah.
I can just respond to that. We do have some plans, yes. We have initiated the license plate renewals. So that is in process currently, and we should have something, I'm crossing my fingers, by October, where we can offer license plate renewal stickers to the public. We do have fishing and hunting licensing. We are in queue for that. We are looking at passport applications, but I'm not sure how much travel will happen, but we are in queue for that. And then we are also looking at asking the Friends of Foundation and also looking at some branded items. I do believe we will replenish and get to a place where we're comfortable in replenishing that revenue with the license plate renewal program. And again, Sikich also did review this document and recommended that we keep with what the estimate was in the working budget. So that's my recommendation, is to keep the document as is.
I guess where it impacts us this year like no other is we're going to have to prepare cash flow documents to determine how much we can do or how much we can spend in terms of renovation or whatever we want to call it, additions, renovations, or whatever. And 35,000 is not an insignificant number. And if we start, if you have a better estimate of, when you think each program will kick in and how much revenue we will realize from each program, I would be in favor of us substituting that number for the 35,000. So if it's gonna, we're 9 months into the year, so we know nothing's gonna be brought in for those first 3 months. But if something's gonna kick in, in 3 months, and we're gonna see 6 months, and we're gonna see, 1,000 a month, then let's take 35,000 and replace it with 6,000. Because then, if we're expecting to get 6,000, then I would think we'd want to reflect it.
Just follow up or
Sorry,
give me a follow up or,
I think it should stay.
okay.
I think it's up to the board.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and but I do, it's probably just good just to keep it as is for now. And I mean, again, it's just an estimate. I mean, I mean, I feel pretty good about keeping it. I mean, obviously, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, you bring up.
So what you're saying is the accuracy of these documents is meaningless.
No, I didn't say that. I mean, this is, I would say this is pretty accurate. And again, there is a plan to get into this dollar amount, this specific line item. So,
And this is a small amount of revenue in the grand scheme of things. I know it's not insignificant, but it is a smaller amount of revenue in the grand scheme of revenue here.
Okay.
Well,
Vice President Martelli.
I don't know how to ask this other than to just say, what are the repercussions if we don't make this estimate? It is an estimate.
Right, it's just an estimate.
Okay, it's
It's a document communicating to the public what we
right.
anticipate receiving as revenue in this particular category.
So if it is not accurate and it is much less,
It's almost like any other budget category. I mean, we budget for, salaries. I'll just use that, and we may not make, we may not use that complete line item. We estimate the revenue from the county for property taxes to be a certain amount, and that may not be the case. It may not be, it's not going to ever, well, it may, but it doesn't really come out to the penny every year, and it won't generally.
And we're gonna probably get on this tax row. I mean, it won't be maybe exactly to the dollar, but it's, so I mean, the lion's share of this revenue we're gonna get with property taxes.
Same with the per capita grant.
Sure.
We estimate, let's say 35,000. It may not come in. There was one year we estimated it to be in the $30,000 range, and we didn't get it until the very last few days of the year. It's an estimate.
Yeah, so that's another good example. With the grant, it wound up being a little less money, and it didn't come until the end of the fiscal year, or even come like the following beginning of the.
It was the very end of the last week.
Yeah, it came at the very end. And even interest earned on district funds, if I'm not, that number's probably pretty low, I think, the 186, isn't it?
The interest, I mean, that's all dependent on the market, and we just do your best in terms of providing an estimate again.
And the number of the document is, but even is a proof certificate of estimated. Estimated is the key word, revenue.
I'm just not used to saying, okay, we're reducing this program, and we know by reducing a program, that means we will not receive this revenue. And it shouldn't be, I mean, we're not going to receive $35,000 in fines. The board voted on that. So that money is not going to be there. No way, no how, the program's going away. So it shouldn't be too difficult if we have a plan for, okay, we're doing program A, which is the license sticker renewals. Maybe how much do we make on that? Maybe it's $5 each one we sell. We estimate we're going to sell 10 a month, 100 a month, whatever the number is, and we're going to start that program 3 months down the road, so we'll have 6 months of revenue. To me, that's the kind of revenue estimate that I would think we could do on each of our programs, and therefore replace the $35,000 with a more accurate I mean, you said that fishing license is a different program. Well, nobody's going to buy a fishing license in the winter, okay? So we're not going to receive any revenue from that until maybe, what, April? So we'll have April, May, June, 3 months. And we're probably, what a fishing license costs, like $5? So we'll
16.
probably get
Costs
$1
more than that.
or 50 cents from each of those. So all I'm saying is I am in preference, you know, like when we don't get money from the county, we are taking our best estimate of what we know at that time. And we're putting it in forms like this that we're asking Jenny Norton as our chief fiscal officer to sign, right? She's affixing her signature, blah, 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 blah. And that's the best information we had on that day. Here, we're taking something and we're not using the best information that we have on this date. And I'm just not used to that kind of finances, projecting revenue. I just, it's very unusual to me, very, it's close to bizarre. So I'll shut up now.
The only thing I'll say is, Trustee Sullivan, again, there's a plan to get some of this revenue, but even if I take that whole entire line item of $38,250, that's 0.8% of the total revenue. So, I mean, you're talking about less than 1% of the estimated revenue. So, I mean, I don't want to call it immaterial, but it's not, I mean, that's not the lion's share of our revenue anyway. The taxes are, and we're going to get that money. To my knowledge, I don't think there's been any disruption. I don't know that for certain, but I don't think there's been a massive amount of unpaid property taxes in this year, which is pretty good news, I guess. The one good news with the environment we are in. If there's any other questions or comment on this document from any of the trustees?
I'll just add.
Go ahead, Jenny. Sorry.
This is Jenny Norton. I just wanted to say thank you to Liz for your comments and especially for your consideration on my behalf as the integrity of my signature. I do think it's good food for thought. I do think the key here is for me being comfortable with this is that it is about the materiality aspect because estimates are always going to be created at a point in time, and then every day you're going to learn truths that are going to have actuals coming above or below, and you could sort of chase your tail every day to try to refine those numbers, and you would only really make changes to those numbers as new information becomes available if it's going to be a material change. And I think there was good thought put into how we would recover revenue even in this smaller line item with other programs before the year end. I do appreciate the spirit of your question and how you really dug in to all of the individual initiatives that are aiming to neutralize this loss. But I also think that the overall cost benefit is it is not material to the whole, and it's not worthwhile to go back and make an edit for that.
Secretary Skostek, did you?
No, after Treasurer Norton spoke, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, are we good? All right, roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Nay.
Emily Swissad,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. Next item agenda is set director salary. We will do that when we come out of executive session. But before we do that, we will move on to agenda item number 10, which is opportunity for trustee comments. We'll just go alphabetical, I guess, today. Vice President Bartelli.
Um,
You want me to skip you for now, and come back to you?
Yes, please.
All right. Trustee Duffy.
Thank you, and I apologize. This is what happens when everyone internet is sucking up mine.
I know.
Yeah. First of all, I have two very quick comments. First of all, I am very proud of the staff. I had no part in this whatsoever, but for gaining the recognition from scarce. It's a topic or a subject that I've always held with great importance, and between this recognition and the environmental responsibility policy that we created, I think this is not just a couple of steps forward. These are a couple of leaps forward, and being a leader within this community. And to address today's public comments, and I very much thank the resident for speaking. And I think I've kind of said this before. When I view this whole concept of facility planning, I view it not in the context of just as space. It's what we do with that space, how we envision a library moving forward. And I just look at this as an opportunity to really innovate, not to be captured just by you need to meet a certain space threshold. But I do appreciate his passion and for coming and speaking today. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Trustee Larson.
I don't have anything at this time. Thank you.
Right. Treasurer Nord, is it a good time?
Thank you, yes. Right, I mean, or maybe there are bad times, but I'll stay on mute for those. First of all, kudos to everyone involved in the scarce recognition, and that was a wonderful presentation today. I really enjoyed that. I'm honored to be affiliated with this organization receiving that honor, and all of the people who dedicated themselves to making that happen. Secondly, I really want to just say that I think that Vice President Bartelli's idea and initiative, there we go, it is a good time. Vice President Bartelli's idea about whether we do it in the form of a committee as a whole or not, just that, a communications plan, a program, conversations that we all get on the same page and remain on the same page about making sure that we're very transparent with the public and explaining to everyone how we've been arriving at the decisions that have brought us to this point and what our trajectory is going forward. And then with respect to that, I've noticed we have been getting more public comment, right, on the topic of the facility. And we've also been getting more emails in, and I just want to encourage more of that. I've said it before, I'm a strong proponent of feedback from the public, and it's very relevant right now that we have come to this point that we're at where we are moving forward with, as Liz said, if we call it improvements, renovations, upgrades, whatever, the ball is rolling, right? We're not doing nothing. We're doing something for sure. FPC recommendations, we're all really at a consensus on that. And then it's just a matter of good, better, best something. We're heading into the architect, interview phase. So really, we are talking about, a big yes on big dollars. And so I really do want to hear from the public. We do seem to only get the extreme opinions, the yes, make the Taj Mahal library, or, wipe out all spend and give everybody a rebate and close down the library. I mean, I'm making real hyperbole here. Nobody has said either of those things, but you hear really strong one way or really strong another way, not neutral, like, you guys are doing a great job, keep up the great work. You don't really hear a lot of that because that's not really what people have the impetus to do. They have impetus to do things when they have a super strong opinion, and it's often a really strong negative opinion is what gets people to talk. But I want to encourage everybody, whether you have a neutral opinion, a strong positive, strong negative, a weak positive, a weak negative opinion, please reach out, send an email, do something that gets to the board's attention and the director's attention, because these decisions that we make, I want our pulse to be on what the public really truly wants, from staff to patrons to taxpayers to every stakeholder that exists for this library. I want as much feedback as possible, because otherwise we're just going to go with what we hear the most of and what's in our own hearts. And I would like us to be a little bit more informed than that in terms of what people want right now. We had that community engagement study in 2017, 700-ish people responded out of many thousands of, stakeholders. So I really think we need more information than that. And I do take all of people's comments to heart. I will say that my opinion has been shaped and changed over time, and it remains malleable. So your feedback does count. Please do send it in.
All right, thank you. Trustee Sullivan.
First of all, I totally agree with what Jenny said concerning feedback from the public. So keep those cards and letters coming in. Fan mail from some flounder, I think they used to say. But I think trustees can only do their job if, we need to implement what people want to see. And, we really need that feedback. So that was the first thing. Second thing is, thank you to Tatiana for digging and getting all those answers to all those finance questions that I sent to you, because I think what that's going to do is tee up a lot of Q&A and things that we can determine and work on in our finance committee. So really appreciate that. And I also appreciate, I didn't get to see, who the person was who spoke, but I appreciate the gentleman who spoke tonight. And I think he made some good points about, we need to consider things like the two adjacent lots. And I think he made a good point that I never thought about. Those lots were available because the property was developed at one point, and the home that was on that property, it was time to be torn down, and it was time that the owner was going to sell it. Now, if we do sell one of those two lots, somebody's going to build a brand new home on it. And the likelihood of it being torn down again, it's going to take years and years and years. So if we do sell one of those two lots, it'll probably never be available again in our lifetime. So I think we should seriously think about that. And that's it.
Thank you, Secretary Swistick.
I wanted to echo some of the other trustees' comments about how proud I am to be part of this organization with the recognition from Scarce today. I'm looking forward to seeing the flags on display. So that's really good. I also want to say that I really appreciate all the discussion we've had tonight with the board. I feel like, everyone's feeling like they can share how they're feeling, and we can have productive discussions. So I appreciate that as well. And then I also wanted to add in how I continue to appreciate the curbside pickup service that the library is providing. I think that's really great. And I also wanted to share that we had an issue last week with trying to find some books that would be appropriate for my third grader to read. And instead of spending time kind of trying to do searches through the app, I just called Youth Services and I talked to Miss Emily, and she helped me, and she went and she pulled several books for my son and she put them on hold, and then they were available for me to do curbside pickup the next day, and it was fantastic. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I'll go next, Martin. I'll wrap up with you, but I'll go next. As you know, probably the next month for sure, we're going to have a lot of meetings, a long meeting, at least one. So, get ready, because we're going to be starting to meet a lot more, excuse me, than usual. So, and there'll probably be some lengthy meetings. And the only thing I would ask too is, it does take time for staff to prepare those meetings, their committee meetings as well. So, it's fine to ask questions. I have no problem with that, but I would just ask the trustees to be cognizant of staff time to do their daily work, plus prepare for all these meetings that are going to be coming up. And plus, we have the tax levy coming up next, and then before you know, we're going to have a budget, working budget, in the beginning of next year. I mean, the next several months are going to be pretty crazy around here. So, I mean, it's fine to ask questions. I'm not trying to curtail any of that, but just please be cognizant of the staff time with the request. I mean, but again, feel free to ask. The other thing, I know a couple of trustees have already mentioned, and I think it's a really good honor that the library received today with that Scarce flag. I mean, that's good that, you know, Scarce has been around for a while, and they're one of the leaders, definitely in DuPage County, probably the Chicago area, I would argue, as far as environmental issues. So to be recognized by that organization and having a county board member here read the resolution from the county board chairman, the county board as a whole, I mean, it's a real honor for this library. So I agree, you know, thank staff on that one. And, you know, I think we also should be proud of, like Trustee Duffy mentioned, the environmental policy we passed earlier this year too. So that's a very good honor for us, and I think we should be commended. I don't know how many. I know it sounded like there were some other libraries that received that flag, but I don't think it's that many. But it's mostly schools and parks that get that.
We're pioneers.
Yeah, but it's usually schools and park districts, I believe, correct? So, I mean, we're kind of in the lead company as far as libraries. I mean, we may not be the first, but we're probably one of the select few that have received that. So I do agree with the other trustees that have mentioned that. That's something we should be proud of. And I'm glad that we got two flags. I didn't know that. I thought we just got the one that will be flying, I'm assuming, on the flagpole, and the other one we'll probably have somewhere in the library. That's not a bad idea. The Scarce representative, if you want to frame it and put the resolution, it's not a bad idea. The last thing actually is one of the other trustees or the trustee or Secretary Swistak was talking about looking for books. I have actually forgot to keep bringing this up. I have had a couple of constituents talk about the Swan. I know we have that, but I think, is that just for staff? Because I think they were asking, is it open to the general public?
Swan?
Yeah.
The Swan catalog is a public catalog, but we are like peripheral members because we do utilize Swan for interlibrary loan. So if someone wants to check on the Swan catalog to see if there's an item there that we don't own, they're open to that.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. So I'll reach out. Okay. I'm sorry.
And if there's any question,
There may be restrictions during COVID that they changed a few things, but, so always just check with the library.
Okay.
right, and if you have if any of the trustees have questions from constituents about anything from interlibrary loan to any other internal or patron policies, you can always just give me a call.
Okay. I will let them know that. Vice President Bartelli. Let's take you after all.
Rather than repeating all of your comments, which were great, but I would like to specifically mention the Scarce Award and commendation. Thank you so much to the staff. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting the two representatives that came to the meeting. That I have met Liz Chapman before, but not the other lady. It's fun to see how excited she was about this and totally understand what's involved, especially from the staff, and all of her kind remarks about our staff. That's really makes me very proud also. I'm very much looking forward to the Finance Committee meeting and learning more and more about how we're thinking about our finances as it relates to the project, hopefully. And we have had really good discussions tonight. We have a really great group of trustees, I feel. And I appreciate everyone's honesty and being able to give our opinions. And it's very important to me. So I hope we continue. Good meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. But we're not done yet. So, the next item on the agenda is to go into executive session. Can I have a motion? Can somebody please read the citation under 11A, please?
Oh, okay. This is Vice President Bartelli. I make a motion, go into executive session, 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment.
Close in 15 minutes. If you wish to apply for or renew a library card, please do so now.
Discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity.
All right, we have a motion. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Trustee Duffy, second.
I think Trustee Larson got it. If there's no, any discussion before we call roll call on this? Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swissett,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, we will go into executive session at 8:46. So now we're back in open session at 10:17. I'll tell you before we make the motion. So we are going to give you a 3% raise retroactive to July 1 plus a $1,000 bonus.
Oh, very nice. I really appreciate the confidence and the pleasure, and I will definitely take the feedback that was supplied. I'm sure there'll be more feedback.
Oh, yeah, and I will, yeah, I maybe even Secretary Switznick, chair of the personal policy, our committee, we will talk to you the days. But some of the goals for the upcoming fiscal year, or fiscal year, actually. So can I have a motion to set the director's salary for fiscal year 2021? Just a percentage. Percentage retroactive to July 1, and then the bonus.
I move to set the director's salary at a 3% increase, retroactive to July 1st, plus $1,000 bonus.
For a second?
Yes, Trustee Norton, second.
Trustee Norton, any other discussion?
Nope.
All right, roll call, please.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Emily Swissett,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. Congratulations. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to
Trustee
adjourn.
Duffy,
Give it to Duffy, second.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Emily Swissett,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. We are adjourned at 10:20.